Hello and welcome to Future Simple Friday Live, episode 6. Today we are in yet another different venue. We are in the exhibition centre at RBS. Today is the Edinburgh Business Show and we are joined by a lovely guest, Sara Robertson from Scott Beer Tours. You've got me, Lucinda Bray, founder of Future Simple, and Adam, our assistant marketing consultant. So without further ado, we shall shuffle our questions for this week and put our timer on for 10 minutes, which I did prepare this week. Woohoo!
Brilliant.
And let's go. I'll let you go first.
Okay, so learning of the week. Learning of the week. What you think you've communicated isn't necessarily what somebody else thinks you've communicated.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So yeah, I guess it's not something that I learned this week, but
It's a good
something that I've been reminded of this week, and it's really important to ask people to repeat back to you what they've understood from a conversation, especially if you're managing lots of people in a team.
There's a really great quote that I used to use. I think it was even on the first version of the Future Simple website that was about communication. Just because you've said something doesn't mean they've heard it.
Yeah.
So just because you're putting it out there and you're saying all these things doesn't mean that it's actually been heard or what you have meant has been heard.
Yeah.
And it's a total challenge that we get. I think it's a challenge across loads of things, but in marketing it's a huge challenge because it's just because you're saying what you think you want, well, either what you think you want people to hear or you think you want people to buy, doesn't mean that's what they're interested in or what they're hearing from it.
I also think you're talking about working in like big groups, like cultures. So, for example, like British people might translate something very different to like Asian cultures, and that's something I've found in the past as well. So you have to be very clear about what something means, especially to a very big group. Like there's loads of horror stories about advertising campaigns that are written in languages the wrong way round, that sort of thing. So it's making sure that it translates properly to your audience. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. It's a great learning. Yeah. There you go. Oh, me, you want to Rant of the week. This is normally you.
Yeah.
But I think we can probably all agree that one good rant, I might pass one on to you then afterwards, but Black Friday. So Black Friday is no longer just the day that it was meant to initially be. It goes on for weeks as kind of like this marketing tactic to drive footfall or drive visitation to websites. And I don't know, in my opinion, it just dilutes the whole thing. Yeah. Like it's meant to be a day, and I feel it's like a lot of the different seasons and stuff like that. It's over such a long period.
But I also think even as a day, it shouldn't happen, and we are not doing anything for Black Friday, and I think that we were just having this conversation actually before we came here, was that as a business, as a small business, if you genuinely believe your product or service is valuable, don't discount it. Because you will end up just busy and not making any money. And also, what my experience is that when you put your price up, you actually get more business because people perceive you as a quality premium product.
Yes.
And I think there's also an obligation on consumers to recognize when businesses are giving them value. And respect that they're doing a job and they're doing work for you, and be willing to pay what something is worth, not just always look for the discount.
Yeah,
totally
I think sales culture is really dangerous, and it's especially in retail at the moment. The sales culture is just vast that everyone goes for. No one's really buying anything in normal times anymore. They're always waiting for the sales because it is almost guaranteed that there's going to be a sale and everything is going to be discounted, and it's really quite damaging, especially in clothing retail. It's becoming really damaging. I mean, you've got so much clothes ends up going to landfill because they're buying all the stock, they're keeping it in store, they're trying to sell it off cheap, not selling it at the margins that they want, and then it's just going to landfill, which is a complete waste.
It does that, and it totally destroys the brand proposition, as you were saying. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of Apple stores don't do it because it's against their kind of brand proposition. IKEA don't do it because their kind of definitive value, proposition is value anyway, so they don't want to dilute that, which I think is great. You shouldn't let something like this take your brand astray and pull you along rather than you actually doing it.
Yeah, it does almost feel like I've seen a lot of people piggybacking on Black Friday, or feeling like they should give a discount because it's Black Friday and everyone expects a discount, and it's like.
But I think you can. There's a lot of examples of businesses using not doing Black Friday as a marketing.
Yeah, which is great.
By coming out and saying, we're not doing it, and this is why we're not doing it, and actually that's why we deserve your business.
It can be more powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
That is a very good round of the week.
We'll cut it and we'll go into the next.
Most interesting fact. Okay, so this was my one from last week actually, but it does link into the one we were discussing earlier. That I was at Digit Festival last week, and they had the head of strategy from Google talking, and he said that this shouldn't really be surprising, but there are over 44,000 searches per second on Google, which is insane. 44,000 searches
incredible.
per second. Then you were saying earlier that in the US, the ad spend, over 50% of ad spend in the US is through Google and Facebook alone. And part of me, I sat there and I was like, I don't know if I'm surprised by that. I actually feel like it should maybe be more.
Yeah, but I also
it's huge.
I also think that this may be getting into rant territory, but marketing. People who tell you that marketing is setting up PPC campaign or Facebook campaign, it's not.
No.
That boosts whatever you're doing, but if you don't have the organic reach and your message right, you're just pouring money down the drain.
Yeah.
And I think that any marketing agency that tells you to launch a PPC campaign before they've done schema.org markup on your website, before they've got your Google My Business listing, before they've got the basics, the free stuff done, if they come to you with ad spend first, just don't go anywhere with them.
Researching and understanding your marketplace and what your proposition is, because it's so much about, unless you understand the customer and who you're talking to, any of these tactics, you could be just shouting into the void because you're not talking to the people that are going to actually purchase your product.
Yeah.
You need so much of it.
Or you're talking to them at the wrong time.
Yeah. So the first thing that we do for any of our clients is do a big research deep dive and assessment, and where can we help the best. Before we go, we think you need X, Y, and Z. We fully assess the company to find out what's going on, because otherwise you could be advising all sorts of things that aren't. It's just ridiculous. Okay, what's your go next?
All right. Favorite tactic or platform? So, I am torn between two things, but I think I'm going to go for, because I've recommended this to so many people, and everyone who's used it has been happy, Daniel Priestley's book, How to Get People Queuing Up to Do Business with You. So it's called, the book is actually called Oversubscribed. The subtitle is How to Get People Queuing Up to Do Business with You. So it's about how you communicate honestly about how much product, how much capacity you have available in order to drive demand. So it's about planning your communications, and when you talk about things, how you phrase things, but the most important part of it all is that you are honest throughout. So you never, sometimes you get these things where people go, oh, the tickets are almost sold out. And they're not.
And that's the thing now. You get to that point where you see that and you go, you've still got lots left.
So, and it's actually, what I find interesting about this is that to embed it into if you have a defined audience like a marketing and email list, for them to understand that you are honest. So that then when you tell them the tickets are going to sell out, they believe you and they follow through on it. And that takes a long time to build up, but it's very, very quick to break, because the moment you're dishonest.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can, it's like brownie points have a short shelf life. It's that thing, if you can do a lot of great things, and as soon as you do one thing that goes against that, it can break that whole trust.
Exactly.
So it's really important to just remember that you have your values and stick to your values and be honest. I mean, Daniel Priestley, I've often looked at his blog posts and on his little daily emails that come through. I've not actually read that specific book, but I will add it onto my to-do list. But yeah, I do rate Daniel Priestley a lot.
It goes into the analogy of like sports and bodybuilding. Like, it takes a long time to get to the top, but a week of not concentrating or anything like that, you drop off much quicker.
Fun fact, can I interject with that's unique to humans, because we prioritize sending energy to the brain. So animals don't suffer the same loss because they're not prioritizing sending energy to the brain, they're prioritizing sending energy to the whole body. And that's why it's so hard for humans to stay fit.
Fact of the week.
That is a fact of the week. I like that one. Fab, right.
Okay. How have you looked after yourself this week? I have been listening to some Halistrio apps. I would really recommend it. It helps you stay mindful, it relaxes you a lot. Something that kind of is going on at the moment within our household is like before bed, we're very guilty of just sticking on our phones until we go to sleep and go to sleep. But I don't think we quite understand how damaging that is. So I'm trying to take out a little bit of time before bed to just chill out, listen to some relaxing apps, and then that has led to me having better sleep. So yeah, I've stayed off the old phone and relaxed a little bit more.
I love that. I've stayed off the phone, but I've used an app. Sort of, but I mean, isn't it? I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because obviously the app's probably just been playing out the side.
It's been on the side, so it's okay, but still,
it's
that.
I'm not trying to
you can't run with it, can you?
I just find it's funny. But yeah. How mindful have you been this week? I should shuffle these questions better. Okay, mindful this week. I have tried to be more mindful this week, because I have struggled at the beginning of the week. I just had a really, when you have a bad Monday and you just feel really like, I had one of those Mondays.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to be a bit more mindful. And one of the things that is a weird one, it's normally one of my most hated chores, but doing the dishes, doing the washing up. But it's actually a really nice mindful exercise, especially in the cold. Because if you've got cold hands or your flat's a little bit cold, then you just put your hands in the hot water. And you're just like,
instant relaxation.
Yeah, and you could just, if you just spend some time thinking about the hot water on your hands and just enjoying that moment of heat on your hands that were cold, and just really being mindful in the moment. And it's such a little thing, but it's actually really nice and therapeutic. So I had therapeutic washing up.
This has been brought to you by Very Liquid.
Other
brands are available.
Strangest fact about myself, about the world in general.
Just general. You can probably take your one that you had before, actually.
Yeah, that's a good fact. Another one, I guess, beer related and tasting.
Yes.
Your sense of smells that relate to your memories.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
What we do when we do tastings with people is that we get them to close their eyes, and then we get them to answer a series of questions that help them unearth whichever memory is being triggered, because people don't practice that skill, so they don't know how to do it unguided. And it's really powerful, and people are like, oh, I'm at my granny's having breakfast, or I'm on holiday with mom and dad, or like things like this start coming out, and it totally changes then how they experience food and drink, because it becomes much bigger than just the thing.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that. I do have to say, doing tastings and appreciating the ingredients and the notes, and whether it's alcohol or food, but mostly in alcohol, like through whiskey tastings or beer tastings, and you get to see the grain or whatever it's been made with, it totally makes you appreciate and changes the way you enjoy it, because you can really appreciate all the different tones, rather than just that naive young one where you take it and go, it tastes like antiseptic, which is the usual response to whiskey when you're starting. But all of a sudden you get all of these different,
it's correct, definitely. Slowing down a bit.
Oh, right, okay.
So I didn't mean slowing down, I meant slowing down to enjoy.
Yes.
To enjoy it.
Yeah.
And well, slowing down, we'll have a quick round. So, jargon term that you struggle to avoid. Was it ROI?
There's ROI, yeah.
And there's a pipeline and there's roadmap as well. All such business words. Like honestly though, what do they mean? Like, I understand what they mean fundamentally, but sometimes I think it's just important to leave these words out of the conversation, out of your rhetoric, and just get to the basics of what you're trying to say.
And then you come back to using them again. Because you're like, okay, now I understand it.
So, great book that I discovered in a coffee shop in London a couple of weeks ago, The Jelly Effect.
Okay.
The jelly effect.
Which is all about how to make a communication stick.
Right.
So it's about thinking about the person you're communicating to. What do they want to leave the conversation with?
Yeah.
And that helps you avoid some of that stuff.
Because it's funny, because I'm pretty sure a lot of these jargon terms, apart from maybe ROI, because that's just an abbreviation,
yeah.
but like roadmap and pipeline, they were probably evolved because it seemed like a good way of explaining that kind of journey that you needed to go on.
Yeah.
But it has become so overused that you get to the point where you're like, oh god, I can't believe I'm going to use that term because it's become business jargon. Yeah. But really, it's helping you describe what it is, the process that you're going through, in a shorter way. So, yeah, it's that
it's
one
not
step
great,
forward, one step back.
But on the flip side, I suppose if you were talking to someone that you knew was like frequented those words almost, you would use it with them. So again, it comes back to your audience and talking to your audience in a way that they will understand.
But going back to the very first one,
yeah.
They may not understand the terms.
And they
you understand.
Yeah,
so then you're
might mean
shortcutting,
something different.
And you actually might end up having a conversation where you think you're talking about the same thing. You talk about two entirely different
Good rebuttal.
Yeah.
There you go. So it works in so many different ways.
I find that with acronyms are worse for that because in some organisations, especially larger organisations, they have acronyms for everything.
Yeah.
And I was in a certain one once where one department had an acronym that meant one thing, and another department had the same acronym, but it meant something completely different. And you're emailing, having a conversation using this acronym, and like one is
that sounds like it could be an episode of The Office.
It could, but you know why that's funny? You know why The Office is funny? It's because it's so true. Yeah, it's terrible. Right. This is where all the cards get stuck together. Example of something you've kept simple this week. Okay, so simple is obviously our thing. We had to future simple, and we try and do keep everything as simple as possible. But it's so easy to go down a rabbit hole, and everything gets complicated and things. One of the things that we are concentrating on at Future Simple is launching a range of online courses targeted at very early stage startups, social enterprises, and charities to give them little snippets of information, like little bite-sized courses that they can do at their own time online. To help them keep their marketing as simple and efficient as possible, so they don't feel like they're biting off more than they can chew. They can just understand things. And we very nearly went down a rabbit hole trying to develop this course and where it was going to go. And then we got Digital Boost funding or ours to help us, and it was great because it pointed us in loads of different directions. But we'd come away from that and go, okay, so now we need to move on to a new platform, and we need to pay this much money to get an e-commerce solution to do this, and we need to, and it almost turned into a huge thing before we'd even beta tested whether it worked.
And I actually think this is one of the problems with funding frameworks. Mm-hmm. So you can get funding for things, but only if you pay someone else to do it.
Yeah.
Which completely ignores that you might have capacity within your own business.
Yeah. To do it.
And I think it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. But anyway, so we went down this whole thing, and then eventually I just sat back and went, no, because if it doesn't work out, which hopefully it will, touch wood, but if it doesn't work out, or it's not what people actually need or want, we've just changed the whole website, moved to different platforms, wasted lots of time, energy, and money on something that isn't going to work. So let's strip it all back, put the basics out there, even if it's just sending a payment request through PayPal to an email rather than setting up an e-commerce tracking system. It's testing it so that we can then learn what we need to actually invest in and implement in. So that's how we've kind of tried to draw that back in and keep it simple this week. So yeah, that would be everything.
Cool. Word of the week. Word of the week. Struggling on one there. Entrepreneurship. I don't know, I've used that word before, but this week I wrote it out today, and I just pictured a ship with all these people on it.
So that's entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneur.
Very good. I just realised, I was thinking we've literally nearly got to the last card.
The first
I was
ever.
we've never got this far down, and I've just looked at that timer that I did preset, and I've not actually started. So we could have been waffling on.
You got more, you got value.
But we were so involved in all our chats.
Yeah.
I think that's been a great chat this week.
Thank
really
you very much for having me.
So,
Thank you.
thank you for coming on. That's been fantastic. Next week we have Andrew Johnson from Relax Change Create / with Andrew Johnson Relaxation Apps. He will be here with us on Friday. Sadly, Adam won't be here with us on Friday
I will not.
because he is graduating for his Masters.
Yeah.
So it's a very good reason to not be with us next week, and we will be sending congratulations through the screen. So thank you for bearing with us for what I think was probably a slightly longer episode, but hopefully it has been enjoyable, and we shall see you next week.